there and welcome to the card grotto. Today I've got a craft room tour to share with you. I tend to do these once a year. People seem to enjoy them, so I thought I'd do it again this year. Things have changed a little bit since last year. So as I'm going to pan around the room just to give you sort of an overall view, I'm just going to mention that I have been crafting for over 10 years. In that time I have acquired a lot of stuff, and obviously I've been on design teams and I've guest designed and things like that, so please do bear that in mind as you're seeing this room, that I have built up quite a lot of stuff. Just obviously want you to be aware of that. Okay, so starting on this side, this is my computer desk, and on the wall I just have a shelf there with some tins that I have cords in that I use on my cameras and my computer and things, and then I've got my DSLR camera, and then obviously I've got my computer there and my microphone and my printer and my Filofax. And then beneath the desks I've got these Helmer units. These are from IKEA and I really like them because they hold a lot of stuff. So I don't know how well you can see, but there is a gap between the top of the shelving units, these drawer units, and then my desk. So it's quite good to just have little things in there. So I've got some labels in a pouch, and then on this side I keep my wooden boards that I use for watercolouring, and then some Arches watercolour paper. So in these drawers here, this section is mainly stationery, so I'm just going to go through it quickly. So in the top I just have things like post-it notes, paper clips, binder clips, general sort of stationery like that. This one here I just have some notebooks and my label maker and some Filofax accessories. This one here I have some Project Life cards, some stickers, some bags, and just some kind of general things for sort of decorating. This drawer here I've got lots of different pens. And then this one here holds my cameras. And then the bottom one I just have some stuff that I need to file away. And then this set here holds sort of more of my colouring mediums. This was an extra inclusion from last year. I used to have 4 of these units in my craft room a long time ago, and then when I got the new desks I took away one, but I've just brought it back in quite a while ago now, about 8 months ago, and I'm really happy to have it back in because it holds quite a lot of stuff, like I said. So in the top drawer I have sort of colouring medium type things. So this one here I've got some pencils, like drawing pencils, and I've got some Stabilo markers, Caran d'Ache Neo colours. This little pencil case I have some watercolour pencils, and I've got my Copic white. This one here I have my coloured pencils in, so my Faber-Castell Polychromos. I've got Inktense pencils, some watercolour pencils and Inktense blocks, and then I just keep lots of blending stumps in one of these pouches. This one here holds my watercolour paints. I've got my Peerless watercolours, some Twinkling H2Os, my Ganzai Tambi, and some Daniel Smith dot sheets. This one here holds sort of more watercolour accessories, so I've got some palettes, my water cups, and some specialty paper there at the back. This one here holds lots of different paper, mainly watercolour paper, distressed watercolour cardstock, and some other watercolour papers. And then the bottom drawer there holds sort of other art materials. So I've got some acrylic paints, some pastels, some charcoal, and some other pencils there at the back. So this here is my main crafting desk where I do all my crafting. So on the wall I've got 2 more shelves. On this one here I have some flower pots from IKEA, and these hold all of my washi tapes. And then I've got my embossing folders and larger dies in that tin there. And then this shelf here basically is just more decorative items. And then I've got my camera mount here. This is a Manfrotto Magic Arm, and it just sticks out from the wall as you can see. And then I attach my camera here onto the end, and then it films downwards onto my craft mat. So onto my desk I've got a lamp here. This is from IKEA again, and this is the Forza lamp, and I just have a daylight bulb in there. And then I don't know how well you can see, but I've got some tracing paper, or you could use vellum or something, and I stick that over it just with a little bit of washi tape. It doesn't look that attractive, but it gets rid of some of the glare. And then I've got my Copic markers. I have them in the Studio 3 Solutions colour cubbies. Unfortunately, I think that they've stopped making them now, but they are really nice and I'm really glad that I managed to get them. I do have the full range of Copic markers, and then I've got some speaker pens and some Wink of Stella pens there at the bottom. And then I just have a ramekin that I hold my stamp chamois in. I've then got a letter holder here. This is from Ryman's, and I use it to hold my Copic chart. So I've got the Copic colour chart from Copic, and then my hex chart there, my Martha Stewart scoring board, and then my mini Misty that I've got in this little pouch that my friend Ruth made for me, which I absolutely love. Got a little notebook that I use to write down the supplies that I've used on a card, and then some little cheat sheets here at the front. Then got my tool carousel. I absolutely love this. This, as you can see, holds loads and loads of tools. I got this from the Great Little Trading Company here in the UK, and I just have things like glues, some pencils, some glue sticks, some scissors. As you can see, I've got a huge supply of scissors, my ATG, some rulers, things like bone folders, tweezers, my tiny attacher, sanding block, and then some other sort of tools at the back here, spatulas and more sort of mixed media tools. That's there. And then I've got my Cricut Explore there on the windowsill. And then underneath my craft mat, I just have a little bit of non-stick sheet that I use, and then it stops my mat from wiggling around. So between these shelves, I have some mats that I use with my Misty tool, some like grid sheets and plastic. And then I've got my light pad there at the back. I apologise, it's a little bit dark. And then I have a hook that I hook my 3M large foam tape onto. So then in these drawers here, the top drawer holds what I call essentials. So I've got my most used black ink pads, my white ink pads, and then my personalised stamps. This one here holds sort of stamping supplies. So I've got all my acrylic blocks, I've got some baby wipes, my stamp scrubber, and then my stamp positioner. This one here holds distress products, so I've got my mini distress inks in the tins. I don't have the full collection. I'm trying to sort of build up my collection. And then I've got some distress markers and then some distress crayons. This one here holds tools, so I've got my ink blending tools and then my stencil brushes, and then I just have some sort of extra foam pads for the blending tools there at the back. This one here holds sort of what I call speciality paper. So I've got foam sheet, I've got stencil sort of paper that you can make your own stencils with, tracing paper, acetate, that type of thing. And then right at the bottom I've got a craft sheet, and then I've got some Tim Holtz tissue paper, some tags, my spritzer tool, and then some images that I've already coloured in and cut out, and I just keep those in there ready to use. And then between the desks here I've got a couple of craft sheets. This one here I've got a craft sheet on the top of my craft mat, and I just stick that down with some washi tape, and it's really good for ink blending. So then moving on to the other side, again I apologise it's a little bit dark under there, but I've got quite a few other craft mat type things at the back, and then also my larger scoring board, and then my guillotine there. So on the top of these shelves I have, or the drawer unit, sorry, I have some scrap paper and some grid paper. And then between the two, between the desk and the wall, I just have my other craft mat that I use for filming, and then I've got my sort of background pieces for photography. So in these drawers, these are kind of what I'd call my essentials in the top drawer. So I've got some clear foam tape, I've got my Fisker stamp press, some mask paper, some Stick It, micropore tape, coffee filters, and at the back I've got some post-it tape and some masking tape or painter's tape, and then my embossing tools. This one here is my adhesives, just all different types of adhesives in there. This one here is my envelopes. This one here is any storage, so any storage that I use in my craft room, like the stamp pockets or magnetic sheets, they're all in there. This one is tools, so I've got my fuse tool, my hot glue gun, and then I've got lots of these pots with various different things in, like glue sticks and alcohol wipes. And then right at the bottom is some felt sheets and some felt offcuts. And then I do have have a fixed cupboard here to the right hand side, and I can't move that, so unfortunately that's there. But in the bottom I just have things like padded envelopes and things for sending stuff off. And then I've got my Raskog here. I did do a video on this fairly recently and not much has changed, so I'm just going to go over it briefly. So on the side with some hooks I have my heat guns, and then I've got pots with various different pens in, like Wink of Stella, my multi-liners, some paint brushes, colour pencils, Stickling colour brushes, and like loads of other pens. And then this tub here I keep things that I've bought recently, usually, that I'm going to do a haul video on. Moving down, I've just got things like mediums, it's like multi-medium matte and those type of range of mediums, crackle glaze and things. Some Nouveau mousse, some gilding flakes, all of my alcohol inks here, and then loads of mists and some distress paint and things. Got some kitchen paper, and then underneath I've got my Cuttlebug, my cutting plates, and then my alcohol applicator tool. So then moving on to this side of the wall, I've got quite a large shelving unit from IKEA, and then I've got some Stackables units. So I'm just going to go over this first. On the top of this shelving unit I just have a basket where I hold offcuts of like card and paper that I'm going to put in recycling. I've got a wooden block that I use for photography sometimes, and then in that box there is some wood stamps. And then this is all of my clear stamps here and my unmounted stamps. So I've got these tubs here, these are from Ryman's. I've got all of my paper tray ink stamps. I have them in the storage pockets from not from Somerset Stamp, I do apologise, from Tim Holtz. Unfortunately I think they've been discontinued now, but I didn't sort of feel like I wanted to swap them out. And then I've got my larger stamps in the Avery L stamp pockets. These are the large stamp pockets. And I've got my background stamps, and then these ones here are like the 6x6 ones, and then I just have them in the We Are Memory Keepers sleeves, and they fit in really well there. And then I've got all of my clear stamps here. These are all my clear stamps from all different manufacturers. I keep them in manufacturer order just because that's how I tend to work. And I have them in these acrylic storage containers from Muji. Unfortunately, these have been discontinued as well, but they're sort of similar to the fridge bins ones. So like I said, these are all in manufacturer order. And then I store them in the Avery L stamp pockets. So I'll store the stamp set at the front, and if there's a die set I keep that behind on some magnetic sheet. And then for my most used dies, like the frame type dies, I just keep them in here as well. So these are the femme frames from Mama Elephant that I use a lot, and then my Somerset Stamp sort of stitched rectangles and things, they stay in there as well. Then moving down, I have all of my clearly besotted stamps, and being on the design team obviously I have a lot. So these ones I keep in categories, so I have things like sentiments, animals, images and all of that, they all get kept together. And then moving down I have my dies. These are the standalone dies. These are in folders from Crafter's Companion, and I do have a video separately on that, and I can link that down below. And then this is all of my cardstock, all of my coloured cardstock, and then I have some Bristol Smooth there at the end just because I use that quite a bit. And this unit here has a drawer which is really helpful. I used to store all of my ink pads in here, but I took them out and I've put my 6x6 paper pads in here. So I just have these in some fridge bin containers, and then as you can see you can just kind of flick through them. I've got some dividers in there. And I've got all of my Copic refills, my Copic airbrush accessories. I've just got some spray adhesive, my crocodile, and then my envelope punch board. And then right at the bottom I've got these two containers. These are really good actually. These are from Cropper Hopper, and they fit in this gap really well, and I've got some ribbon in those. This one here, and then this one I've got some larger ribbon, and then I've also got my embroidery floss. So then moving on, I've got these Stackables units. These are wooden units, and then the insides or the drawers, however you want, you can have paper trays and things. These are all plastic, and then you can move them around, switch them all about and everything, which is really good. So I've got two stacked on top of each other. And this one here at the top, I used to have my paper trays in there and with all of my 12x12 cardstock, but since I wasn't really using it that much, I decided to utilise the space a bit better and put drawers in there. And so I've got all of my ink pads in there. But first of all, I'm just going to share with you how I'm now storing my 12x12 paper. So these are in paper files from Cropper Hopper. They're really helpful just to have on the top here. Like I said, I don't use 12 by 12 paper on cardstock that much now, but I obviously wanted to keep hold of some of it, so most of it is Doodlebug. And then I've just got my Winsor & Newton watercolour chart there at the front. I've then got some binders. These are from Simple Stories, and I've got my stencils in this one, and again I do have a video separately on that which I will link to. And then I've got my swatch books here as well, and again I do have a video on those. So then moving down into these drawers, like I said, I've got my ink pads in these. So the top one here has all of my Memento inks. Then I've got all of my Paper Tray Ink inks. I've got some chalk inks and some Brilliance inks. This one here has got Altenew inks, and I like to keep them in the sets that they come in, just so that I know sort of which colours go together. And then this one here holds my MFT inks on this side, and then my Simon Says Stamp inks on this side. I know that someone's going to ask, it is okay to keep your inks on their side, but obviously you have to do what you feel you're happy with. And they do say that pigment inks should really be laying flat. So for the hybrid inks, just because they're a mix of pigment and dye, I keep those flat, but all of the other ones I keep on their side. I've had no problem with that whatsoever. And this is my Hero Arts inks, and then again I keep the ombre ones flat as well as the pigment ones. This one here is my Distress inks. These are the full-sized ink pads. Again, I didn't get the full collection before the minis came out, so I've been trying to sort of convert to the minis, and I was going to sell them, but since I have the space at the moment, I'm just going to try and use up some of the ink. This one here has got my Nuvo Crystal Drops, my stickles, sorry, trying to think of the word there, some liquid pearls and some enamel accents and some Nuvo glitter. This one here is all of my embossing powders. I keep them in the jars that they came in, apart from the Wow Bright White, which I tend to put in a pot. And then this one here holds some colouring books and then some watercolour guides and my colour wheel and things. And then this set of drawers here holds my embellishments mainly. So the top drawer, I've got all of my Doodlebug embellishments that I keep in colour order. Next one is various other embellishments, lots of Studio Calico, wood veneer and some chipboard and some googly eyes and some like Christmas bells and things. This one here is some larger chipboard pieces, some action wobbles. This one is all stickers, so I've got quite a lot of Doodlebug stickers and some Tim Holtz. This one is rub-ons. This one is my felt rolls. I'm not too happy with them being in a separate place than my sheets, but I've had the rolls for quite a long time, and I've only recently started buying some sheets of felt, so I'm not sure how I'm going to keep them at the moment, but these are all my Paper Tray ink felt, and then I've got a few tailored expressions as well. This one here is my sequins, so I keep them in these containers. These are from Craftmates, and on the back I just have the labels of the sequins, and then as you can see, you can kind of see from the top which ones you're looking at. Most of them are little things from Lucy's cards, and I've got some Pretty Pink Posh and some Simon Says Stamp, and then my Doodlebug ones there at the side. This here is all my buttons. I don't tend to use buttons on cards that much these days, but I like to keep them, and I sometimes use them with packaging and things. So these are in tubs. You can get these from Simon Says Stamp or from Paper Tray Ink, and I really like them for buttons. And the next one is some glitters. I've got all my Doodlebug glitters and flock, and then some Distress glitter. This is all my bling, so this is all Doodlebug here at the front and at the back there, and then some different manufacturers there. So I've got enamel dots, rhinestones, pearls, that type of thing. And then the bottom one holds all of my Paper Tray ink ribbon, and then some Doodlebug twine, and then some sort of other various sort of twine there at the back. And then to the side here I just have my drawing board that I put on my desk if I'm going to colour for a long time. My airbrush here, which is my air compressor that I use for Copic markers, and then my tripod. And then I just forgot one thing over here on the side. I keep my watercolour paper in here, so I tend to buy the full sheets of watercolour paper and then cut them down, so I just pop them in that case there. So that was a look at my craft room. I hope you've enjoyed watching. I will have links to everything that I can link to down below in the description box on YouTube and also on my blog. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon.